Welcome back to the Fit for Fitness podcast. And for those of you joining us for the first time, thank you for being here. I have the privilege today of interviewing Mitch Harb. He's the co-founder of HIDEF Physical Therapy. So today we talk a little bit about how he got into starting a physical therapy company and how you can go about hiring a physical therapist, when you should, what you should be looking for, and all of that. So without further ado, let's get into this podcast. I've seen you and where you came from with coaching, and I've also seen, HIDEF and what you guys been doing and how fast you've been growing. I wanted to first kind of chat to you a little bit about how HIDEF even came about, and maybe you can tell people what exactly HIDEF PT is.
Yeah. No, thanks again for having me on and allowing me to share the story. So basically, I was a personal trainer, and Zach, my business partner, we were friends in high school. Great friends in high school. He went off to school in New Mexico, University of New Mexico. We stayed in touch here and there, but not a ton. And then when he became a physical therapist, he ended up moving back. So we reconnected, and I always talk about social media. Some people hate it, some people love it. I kind of have a love-hate too, but I will say one of the best parts about it was when we were friends. We've been friends since we were 14 years old. We never talked about business or really even fitness that much, but because I was sharing a lot of it and building on social media, that really sparked the conversation of us coming together. Like, hey, I see you're interested in this. Why don't we work on some content or business stuff? And I always think, like, if I had never done that, maybe we wouldn't really have found those commonalities and reconnected in that way. And so, he was a staff physical therapist at a clinic. I was running my personal training business, and we were just constantly hanging out, constantly talking business. And we were like, man, we saw issues with personal training, and we saw issues with physical therapy. And eventually we're just working so much on business stuff. We're like, why don't we actually like create something ourselves? And we were sitting at a table at a house I was at with a bunch of roommates, and me and Zach were like, let's just start this business. And this was in 2018. And so originally we did personal training. I was doing nutrition coaching as well, and physical therapy. And then, as the years went on, we started to learn more about business, and it also was just pretty difficult to do all those things well. We hired some trainers, hired some nutrition coaches, was finding physical therapists, and we decided, why don't we just focus on one route, pick one thing, be great at that, the best at that, and then we can work with other trainers. There's so many other people that are only doing one thing. They're probably going to do it better than we can do 5 other things, right? So we went down one route, decided to focus on physical therapy only, shut down the training side, and then we started in Seattle, and then from there opened up our Bellevue location. And then Luca, who reached out. He was like, man, I see what you guys are doing, and I want to have a physical therapy clinic in our gym. And we were like, man, we're pretty busy right now, but I don't think we can say no to this offer. So we're going to do it. And that was how the Renton facility came about. But yeah, from a high level standpoint, we're a outpatient orthopedic clinic, focusing on sports injuries, acute injuries, post-op as well. But we really see ourselves as a different brand than the traditional physical therapy. You go into this hospital setting, and you're on a band, you get on a bike, and then you go about your day. We pride ourselves on being able to take people through the high level activities and get them back to those activities within our clinic. I think that was the big thing. Was a lot of places it's like, all right, you haven't lifted more than 2 pounds here, but I'm going to tell you to go back and get back to CrossFit, like you've been doing. How can you safely really do that without the equipment and without the skills and knowledge in that? So that's kind of where we stand.
Dude, that makes such a huge difference, because I mean, even the people that I've had here train here, it sounds exactly like what you were just describing. They're like, PT basically made them stop doing all the things that they thought were like, even semi-related, just crossed a similar joint structure or something like that. And then like, they're like, okay, as soon as it stops hurting, and send them back, versus like really teaching them how to like manage pain, actually improve and increase the robustness of tissue and people's resilience. So it's really cool. There aren't a lot of places like you. So is that what you would say is primarily makes you guys different? Is the focus on the reintroduction of activities, or those higher level activities that people do on a day-to-day?
Yeah. I think that's always been something that we've really valued. We started as providing personal training and physical therapy, and I think getting rid of the personal training side, we still kept that same mindset and those same philosophies, right? Like we want to be able to load someone, and we want people in our company who have those backgrounds, right? Like everyone in our company lifts weights on their own, right? They're PTs, but they like to lift weights. If they didn't have that experience, I mean, if they really wanted to get that, like we could work with them, but those type of people don't really gravitate towards us. It's a lot of the athletes who went down the physical therapist route. So yeah, that's definitely what I feel like sets us apart. And then also the access to equipment, right? We're inside of gyms,
right?
I'm at the Bellevue office here, where we have a lot of the same gym equipment, the Rogue racks and all that stuff, but that makes a huge difference, where even a great PT, if they only have 2 pound weights, it's like you can only do so much with that.
Right. So would you say that when looking to hire a PT, one of the first things you should be looking for is, does this person even themselves work out?
Yeah. I mean, that's it's just so much easier, man. And you just know what you're getting, right? Like,
right.
Someone who knows the gym, knows workouts, enjoys that stuff, they're not going to tell you should stop doing that, right? They know themselves, like, I don't want to do that, so why would I tell someone else? They're going to help you and get you through that journey because they understand it.
Right. So when somebody is looking for a PT and maybe they don't have the option of going to HIDEF, whether it's just logistically not feasible for them, they're not in Washington, or wherever else you guys are sprouting up right now, how would you go about telling somebody they should look to hire a PT, or how would you go about screening to find one that's going to help you be able to return to those activities that once caused you pain?
Yeah, I think that one of the big pieces there is figuring out what your goals are, right? Like, I don't want to like badmouth any business out there. I think that all clinics stand a purpose in what they're doing, right? Like there's a lot of clinics that don't have all that access to weight, but not everyone wants to get back to those high level activities. So that's perfect for them.
Right.
But if I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a trainer or someone who does lift weights and is active. I would look at the clinic, what pictures do you see? What equipment do they have showing? And if you can't see anything similar to what you've been using, then maybe you should look around, right? Like if there's no weights in the pictures that they're showing, it looks kind of old, like hospitally, then they're probably not going to have the resources. I would also say you could look at the PTs that are listed. Some of them may have their CSCS as well. Some of them may be sports clinical specialists. So those are the types of things. But yeah, a lot of times I'm looking at what they have access to, because like I said, you could be a great PT that does lift weights and does know all these things, but if the clinic isn't set up for you, it's just going to be a lot harder. And also the model, right? So some clinics, which I said still serve a purpose, they will do more of a like a 3-4-1 model where you're going to have 4 people in on the hour. You're going to see the PT for 15 minutes. They're going to send you off to do your exercises, and you're just going to do them and get out. That may work, like I said, for someone who isn't trying to return to high level activities. They're just trying to tie their shoes or, walk to and from their car or whatever. But if it's like that, then, the likelihood of someone giving you directed attention, helping you get back to those high level activities is low. So kind of looking at that model, like in our Seattle and Renton clinics, we do 1-on-1 45 minutes with the PT. And then here in Bellevue, we do 2 on the hour. So you'll be 30 minutes with the PT and then 30 minutes with a high level trainer, strength coach type of person to take you through exercises. So those are some of the things that I would definitely recommend.
Got you. So, like as somebody who maybe like potentially suffered a recent injury, has been shopping around and they did, find you guys, what would they expect? Like maybe going into like an initial assessment, or like what are kind of the SOPs or day in the life of prospective client for you guys?
Yeah. So, I mean, first initial evaluation, obviously we're going to sit down with the person, listen what their injury is, what their history is. But then I think a big piece of that too is we're going to still do a head to toe evaluation, right? Because just because you have knee pain doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with the knee. Like we're going to find all those other imbalances and really just pinpoint what could be causing that. I think that's a big thing for us too. I can't speak for every other clinic out there, but I think we're very focused on what was that root cause. Yes, we want to get you out of this pain, but we want to make sure it never comes back. I don't want this to be a lingering thing. I want to figure out what is causing that, and then let's attack that too, right? And I'm sure you're the same way, right? Where it's like, okay, you have weakness here. I know your knees hurt, but your hips are weak. People might wonder, like, why am I doing all this stuff? My knee hurts. So you got to kind of explain that, but that's always been a big piece for us. And then on top of that, we always incorporate some home exercise programs. We use a great app called Theracentric, where we're going to provide you all the tools that you can do this on your own and do your own rehab. Obviously, you're going to come in for the specialized stuff, but we want you to leave with knowing what caused the pain and then also knowing how to get rid of it, because, flare-ups do happen. But the best thing you can get out of PT is that gift of knowing how to take care of it, right? Because the worst part about pain and injury is like the unknown. You're like, oh man, my knee hurts. What if this turns into something bad? Am I able to still do other things? What if it's catastrophic? But when you work with someone who is an expert in that, they can tell you, here's what to look out for. Here's what we believe that it is. And here's how to solve it. And then it takes that anxiety away from those issues.
Yeah, for sure. would you say that you guys have found like any sort of data set around like what is the prevailing reasons why somebody would seek out a PT? Like any common injuries or maybe ailments, or anything specifically why somebody would come to a PT?
Um, I'm sure there might be like what's the most common injuries out there. I would say a lot of times it is just like a pain that has been there a little bit longer than someone wanted. Obviously there's the post-op surgeries, right? Like that's a given.
Mhm.
Although, I would say if you're setting up for surgery, number one, I would go in before. I would come in pre-op, and just get some strengthening. That way you better handle that surgery. And then number two, um, make sure that you have all that lined up after the surgery. I think a lot of times what happens is you see people wait too long after surgery, things start to tighten up, and then it just becomes a lot harder to get back to where you want to be. But then as far as like what to get checked out, yeah, I would say a lingering issue that you haven't been able to get rid of, and then something that is just affecting your daily life, right? Like regular activities. If man, just sitting at your desk for work, you can't even hang all day. Like we got to get rid of this because this is now a part of your day that you're limited in, right? If like that commute is now just like extremely painful, that's an issue. So when it prevents you from doing daily activities, that's big. But now we're even trying to expand into the other areas too, right? Like just because you can still grab a glass from the top shelf, it doesn't hurt then. But now when you're snatching in your workout, it does start to hurt. Like that's still warranted to come see us, and get that checked out. And we always say too, a lot of people don't follow this, but it's way easier to recover and way easier to take care of something that has just started than something, I mean, this, than something that has been lingering for 5, 6 years. So why not come in, get some guidance. We'll always give you some exercises to work on. Then just wait it out and wait till it goes away, or worse off, stop working out for it to go away. Like let's just get it checked out as soon as we can.
Absolutely. So with high def, are there certain ways that you guys want to continue to expand, or are you ever seeking to broaden the amount of services? Is it always going to be just PT, just be great at PT, or are you thinking you'll ever re-expand to some of those other options that you had earlier?
It's stuff that we consider. I think for probably a while, we'll definitely just continue to provide the highest level PT that we can. Probably expand into different neighborhoods and continue to do that, just because we do see that opportunity, of that higher level, or that youth athlete or that weekend warrior athlete who wants that type of care. But yeah, for now, we definitely just want to continue down the physical therapy route, and there's still a lot of opportunity. It's still a pretty outdated uh industry, so we see a lot of opportunity to continue to grow that and just expand the profession and elevate it. And I think we have a really cool opportunity once we do expand a little more to start to get these student programs in. We even are now starting to take on like exercise science students who maybe want to go PT route, or maybe just want to become a trainer, I think working in a clinic will really help your knowledge no matter what you want to do. But I'm excited for that because then we can really make change when we're taking all these younger people, getting them experienced into this type of PT. They're, whether they stay with us or they move on, they're only going to continue to take those philosophies and build upon that. So that's kind of where I see the growth.
Do you think there's a perfect world PT situation? Because I know you said that there's a reason for all of these PTs to exist, but you've also said that some of these things are a little bit outdated. Just as a field as a whole, is there a certain way that you'd like, if you could paint a beautiful picture of what physical therapy could be, that you envision PT looking like? Is it like custom tailored care to each individual, but being armed with all sets of these skill sets, or is it all these highly specialized physical therapists, and then what do you have in mind?
I think the way I see it would be getting people placed in the right spots, right? So like we said, there are places that are a little different than us, and maybe we think they're outdated, but they do serve a purpose for a certain population, right? So it's like, it would be great if the people who needed that went there and the people who needed us came to us. I think right now, it is still pretty out there. It is still pretty unknown. A lot of people don't know that there's kind of like two different types. You think physical therapy, you Google it and you just go.
Yeah.
Right. You don't really think, well, my injury may be different than what this clinic can help with, or this one, right, or what this specializes in. So I think it would be great if that knowledge was more widespread, and then the higher level people went to the right clinics, because we have had many people come and they went to a clinic that I was talking about, and they just didn't heal very well. And now our PTs are like trying to really work hard to reverse all of that and get out of that. So I see that being something that would be crucial. So I think that goes with just more awareness.
Yeah.
And then the next piece would be, just figuring out the right balance for PTs, because what we also see is a lot of burnout, right? So a clinic that is seeing 4 people an hour, that's a ton of notes that PT has to write. They're not getting much attention to the patient. They're not, so how are you going to really like up level someone when you see them for 10 minutes? Imagine as a trainer, if it was just like, I don't barely remember you, but like,
yeah,
we should do this. So then you don't really feel like you're making a huge impact, and it just doesn't, the rewards don't weigh like all the work. So I think figuring out a way to give people just match that up, right? Like give them a respectable amount of caseload and match that with the wage. And unfortunately, insurances are just continuing to reimburse less and less. But that's another thing that we're trying to fight, is figuring out other ways to bring in revenue that we can then continue to make sure all our PTs are getting paid what they deserve, and we're not having to bump their caseload 30% just to do that. Right. So, certain things like continuing programming, right? We give you home exercises. Well, when you leave here, it would be great to continue to get those, right? So you continue to do them. Can that be a paid service now? Selling equipment, certain things like that. We're trying to be creative with it, but those are how that's gonna move forward.
So so with the continued programming, how long should somebody expect to continue to work with their coach or their PT? So like that will it depend on like an injury? Does it depend on person to person?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna depend.
Is there ways to improve the recovery times? Like, do some people just move slower because they're not getting enough sleep, or
I think that's definitely a piece of it. I think as far as like how long someone should work on that, it's definitely gonna depend on the injury. I think also we look at like different goals, right? There's like pain goals, which is someone who wants to I just don't want this to hurt anymore. But there's also like an activity goal where it's like, hey, I want to do the Seattle to Portland bike ride, right? And those are the type of things that if you have that activity, then you're probably more likely to do all the things off the bat frequent enough to get to that result. Where if it's just a pain goal, it's like, well, today it doesn't hurt, so I probably won't do this. But as we know, like that doesn't always mean that it's just completely gone. So I think, as far as the programming goes, a lot of that stuff is just stuff that you should start to incorporate into your life and just make it a routine, right? Like there's so many different mobility things that we should probably just be doing when we wake up, during the day, before our workout, before bed.
Do you have any favorite activities or drills that you do for yourself?
Myself, I mean, I always think of just the common things that get tight from activities, right? Hips are usually tight because unfortunately I sit a lot of the day driving or at a desk. And then for me, low back is sometimes an issue. So I like to get into reversing those positions that I'm in, right? Getting some back extension, so like some press ups on the ground. I'm not really rotating as much, so doing some like archers and that type of stuff. Obviously I love like the Spider-Man lunge. I love like a lot of people have different names for them, like shin boxes, just getting some rotation in the hips. Those are a lot of my favorites right now. I'm also working on some low back stuff just from issues I've had. So for me, I had some back injuries and really neglected then rounding at my back, right? Because I thought, well, if I round, I'm gonna get injured because that's what happened before. Yeah. So now it doesn't move. It's just so stiff and it doesn't have much capacity. So the second I do round it, it's like, whoa, it's very tight and feels like I'm going to get an injury again. So now I'm working on slowly incorporating that again, right? Like something like a Jefferson curl, not with 50 pounds, just body weight. Like let's just get down in that position. And that's helped a ton. So it's like just incorporating the right dosage for where I'm at and like slowly keeping on that's shown some good results.
And with your like your hiring process for your PTs for your facilities, I know you talked about somebody like in the future potentially students who are interested in exercise science and going that route. Is there anything that you really look for now? Is there anything that you look for in terms of like leisure activity? How would someone, best position themselves to become a high def physical therapist?
Yeah, I'm always, especially at that student level, like I'm interested in the person that wants to, they're in that growing season and they just want to learn and absorb as much as they can. We've had a mix. We've had people who it's just like they're just here for the summer and they're like checking Facebook and like going through the motions. And then we've had people where it's like, why did we do this exercise? What is this person like? What is this leading to with this person? Okay, how can I do this better? So really just in that growing season, that growth mindset, just wanting to learn as much as possible. And then, kind of going back to like, does the person lift on their own? The reason I say stuff like that is because, as you know, if it's something you already do for yourself, you're going to learn it a lot quicker than someone who like only does it in the amount of study time that they take, right? Like our study time is working out on our own, testing on ourselves, plus, all the other stuff we do. And that person's going to go a lot further than the person who just does it in class or, finally reads one book.
Yeah.
So definitely has those interests. And, it doesn't have to be like you have to be a bodybuilder to work for us. Like we have PTs who they lift, but their main thing is like racing bikes or like triathletes and stuff like that. So I think it's just more like someone who's active and then practices the stuff that they're preaching.
Right.
Too.
Would somebody with like, let's say like a knee injury that experiences knee pain during biking be more likely to be paired with the PT that bikes recreationally?
I mean, ideally that's kind of a big push and a selling point for us when we talk to PTs is first thing I'm going to ask you is what is your population of interest? Do you like to work with youth athletes? Okay, well, let's figure out a plan. How are we going to go get those youth athletes in this clinic to work with you? And so like, for example, the person he does like the enduro bike races and he's there all the time. And I was like, all right, let's come up with a list of places that those people may go to or what they may listen to or what they may, get into on the weekends. Like, where are those people going to be? Let's market to them, let them know what we can provide them. And now you're working with the people that you love to work with. Cause I mean, I know same for you, right? Like there's probably a specific group that you're like, man, this is like the sweet spot. This person is like exactly who I want to be working with. And then there's another group where you're like, I don't know much about it. And I don't have as much of an interest and that makes a big difference. So we see that a lot is if you're working with the people that you have a high level interest in, it just changes the day quite a bit.
When you are looking to market to those populations, how do you go about marketing as a physical? It's not something you hear traditionally, right? Like it's kind of sit back. It seems like a sit back, wait for referrals or make connections type thing.
Yeah.
So, what would somebody like if they were being marketed to by HIDEF? Like, what would the sort of material that they'd be consuming? I'm assuming you're just educating them on stuff that they've maybe felt injury wise, or maybe it's ebooks or something like that. But like, how do you guys go about doing that?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It is kind of like that type of industry where it's just like, hey, yeah, you just wait, someone's gonna get injured and they're gonna search you on Google and find you. And some people do find us that way, but we've always thought of ourselves as like we want to be the industry leaders in all these different areas. So for marketing, it's going and connecting with those types of groups, right? Is there a bike shop that we can talk to and explain to that person, like you said, here's how we can help. I'm sure you've had people talk about these injuries that they're dealing with or ailments from riding bikes. If you do, send them our way. And a lot of times what we provide is a free injury screen where, hey, if someone in your bike club or whatever says that they're having an injury, just send them to us. We'll look at it for free. And then from there, we'll come up with a plan. Okay, well, what insurance do you have? Oh, perfect. We're a network with them. Sweet. Let's uh, start working together. Oh, you don't have insurance. Well, here's what our cash rate is, and here's the plan that I think will work best to get you where you want to be. Let's start on that. So yeah, it's a lot of just figuring out where that person is, educating those groups, and then giving them an offer that they can't refuse, right? I always tell people like physical therapy is difficult in the marketing and sales sense in some ways because it's not a donut shop where like people are lining up. They want that donut, right?
Yeah.
People are finding excuses to not come, kind of like the
Right.
gym too, right?
Oh, I'm
People are finding
okay.
excuses.
No, it doesn't hurt that bad. Or
Yeah,
do you want it to hurt
exactly.
that bad though?
Exactly. So you
It'd
have
be
to
like
attach
driving
it.
around on a flat tire, being like, it's not that flat.
Ex- exactly.
Yeah.
And because they don't want to take the time to figure that out
Or
and
pull off to the side of the road or do whatever, Yeah.
just deal with it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's attaching it to their goal. And that's why I like finding these different places because someone who is going to a bike shop feeling pain, likelihood is they have a goal of they want to ride their bike and they don't want to deal with this pain anymore. So, okay, well, we're going to get you to do that now. So if you come to us, you'll then get the reward of riding your bike without pain.
Yeah.
People would do that versus, oh, I'm just, it just hurts when I sit on the couch,
Right.
like,
So, I kind of wanted to go back to a point that you made earlier, which was kind of with your own training and things that had happened to you. And I'm sure this happens to a lot of people where they're maybe they did kind of suffer a thing with their back before, and they're like, okay, well, now they believe that flexion is an issue, and they're so extended all the time that now flexion does become an issue if you do try to call on it. Much like the common bodybuilder, like their shoulder starts to hurt and they start to do less overheads, and maybe they move to incline, or maybe they move to more externally stabilized means like a Smith machine or something like that. And then it's like, but like you limited your potential because you shortened the amount of space that you can actually grow or train. And so to be, the best or great or even better than you are currently, you're going to bump up against that barrier sooner, which you're kind of saying is like you could broaden that runway instead of like, somebody like pulling off to the side of the road for their flat tire. If they just kind of keep going and they're like, I'm just going to do this until, my tire pops or whatever, you're only going to get so far. Right.
right.
Whereas if you were like to address that, sure, you might have to pull off to the side of the road, but you're going to be able to get so much further. And by the time you actually get moving, you're going to be able to drive faster. You can't drive fast on a flat tire. So you're not only are you not getting your goal, you're getting to your barrier at a very slow pace. So it's like once we remove that barrier, we're able to then move further faster, and the sky's the limit there.
100%. And that's the toughest part, right? Because you are still, I guess the car is still going.
Yeah.
So, it's tough to say pull over, like, well, I can still go. And it's tough to explain that, yeah. Well, you're not getting, and
you might not even
going
like,
as fast as you could.
At least with physical therapy, you might not even really need to pull over, right? It kind of coincides with what you're already doing. It'd be like if somebody could drive up next to you, NASCAR style, just here's the new tire, and like let you keep going. It'd be like that. It's barely even a pit stop. It is literally the continuation of your training.
And that's such a great point, because definitely that's one of our main goals, and that's why we work really well alongside personal trainers. Is I think there's also like a weird relationship there. Is personal trainers, and even me way back in the day, is like, in my head I'm like, well, you're nervous to send to a physical therapist because what if they tell that person that they just shouldn't train anymore.
Yeah.
And now I lost a client.
Right.
So our goal is always like, we're going to work with this individual and the trainer to figure out how they can continue to keep training. Right. Like we can always work around it. Oh, you got a shoulder injury. Well, your legs still work. Right. Like, so focus on that, and we'll do some stuff to get that shoulder where it needs to be to press overhead. But, you may still be able to row. Like there's so many other things that you can continue to do. We're never going to tell someone, just stop doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah. I had a client, and his PT just did not want him to bench press. And my client, for some reason, believed that the shoulder injury was due to a flu shot or something that he had got, which I guess it can happen, but it's extremely rare. And I'm not saying it couldn't happen to him, but he also did coincide with pretty poor bench press form. So whether or not it was the shot that, cascaded into, subsequent injury, I couldn't say. But when he came to me, we had to fix the bench press form first, but he wasn't going to be able to fix the bench press form, which was likely the cause of the pain, if we stopped bench pressing. And so I did, he was working with a PT, and they had him doing all these, drills, which 90% of the drills we were already doing. And because I saw them as the same drills and useful. And this person really just got them to sit down and do them, right? Like they're spending the time to do it.
Right.
But this particular PT just was like, no, you're just not gonna lift. And I'm like, dude, what's gonna happen when he gets back, return to sport, and he's still got shit bench press form?
Right.
Then I'm gonna have to deal with it again. So it's like,
or they're gonna think you aren't good because it's still like, right? It's like,
yeah, next time I'm just gonna send them to HIDEF. So but yeah, no, it seems that there isn't a universal, and this is true of training too. There's not a universal way that we're kind of approaching these problems or thought processes. So to find people who I would say at least are, working in a similar sense, towards solving the same problems. It sounds like we have very similar thought process surrounding how people should train, and how physical therapy and training can help them.
Well, and that's a really good point you made, was like they're finally getting them to do the little drills that they should be doing. And that's how we always see it too, is like, as trainers shouldn't have to use the hour-long session that they have doing 40 minutes of physical therapy stuff, right? Send them to physical therapy so they can take care of it there, and you can keep doing the higher level stuff that, the conditioning and that type of stuff too, that you want to be doing anyways, right? Like,
right, for sure. When you have people coming in for physical therapy, is there anything that like when it's like surrounding pain and stuff like that, do you find that often that just how they think it's going to feel is a barrier to their recovery? Do you find that you guys do anything as it pertains to approaching the mindset surrounding pain? Because we know that that's a huge part of pain, is not necessarily not something physically has to happen for you to experience pain, but just kind of disassociating pain in certain positions.
Well, man, that's a big piece of, and we have like meetings between all the therapists all the time, and I'll always sit in on that. And that's a big thing that they really harp on, is it's that explanation and that empowerment, right? And I'll give an example of how I felt this too. Was I went and saw like just a different provider who reached out to me, and I was just like, yeah, I'm having some neck pain, and they were like, wow, your neck, it's like looks like a 60-year-old's neck, like it's got all this degeneration
Mm,
and these
mm,
issues. And I had neck pain, but I never felt like weak or anything. And I remember leaving there, I was like, man, I shouldn't. I hope no one even bumps into me. Like I was like nervous. I was like, man, I
yeah,
might be paralyzed or something. And
yeah,
I was like, wow, what a weird way. Nothing changed within that moment, just what was in my head. And I was just like, wow. So that's what a lot of people are feeling. Something hurts, their knee
yeah,
hurts, and maybe they think like I'm one step away from blowing my ACL or something like
yeah.
that. And so I see a physical therapist's job as like they have to be able to break those barriers for people and really help them with figuring out what they are capable of.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that is the biggest issue, right? Like going back to my back pain, right? Most of it is caused because I didn't feel like I should be rounding forward, and now it did become that issue. So yeah, that's a huge piece of it. It's just making people aware of what they are capable of, and learning about those certain pains.
Dude, I think that is a huge differentiator, and I'm sure that there are lots of good chiros and physical therapists out there, but that is something that I've found you, rampant just from my personal anecdotal experience and some of my clients as well, basically being like, oh well, like shouldn't be moving around with that back. It's like, yeah, so like, and it's not even true, but the fact that they're saying it and it puts weight behind it because they're credentialed and they're responsible, and so I think it puts so much more power into the practitioner's hands to actually empower that person. So I do really appreciate that is a part of your guys's practice. And it's, I would say, not as prevalent in that industry as it should be. And it's a great thing that you guys do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just that empowerment. That's what we're always looking to instill in anyone that comes in, because and if it does warrant something like that, we always have great referral sources, surgeons or anything that will take a second look. But like we said, a lot of times it is all in your head, and then because it's in your head, you then start to create the issue because you stop
Mm,
doing certain movements.
yep. Yeah. Is there anything you're excited about for the future of HIDEF at the moment, near future, distant future?
We've got such a great team in, and I'm just excited to continue. We've got one new person down in Renton that just started recently. I'm excited to get them ramped up. We got another one coming on a couple months, and then just the team that we currently have, like it really is a cool group to be around. And so I'm just excited to continue to build the people that come in and experience this. Like that's kind of how I see my role, is like, you've got this great product, and my job is just to get more exposure to it. So I'm excited for that. And then we're at this great core, really close to where then we can bring on more students and do more learning for those people. So that's going to be really fun too, is just to bring more younger generation in to have them learn and just kind of see where their heads at, their interests are, the things that they see. So that's kind of the stuff on the horizon for this year. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty
That's
good.
awesome. I'm really excited for you guys.
Yeah.
Uh, Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me, teach us a little bit about HIDEF and what physical therapy I feel should really be like. Where's the best place for people to learn more about you, learn more about HIDEF, reach out to you guys?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you taking the time, man. I know you got a busy schedule as well, and it's always good to chat. Best place to reach out, HIDEF PT is our Instagram. HIDEFPT.com is our website. My handle's HIDEF Mitch. Feel free to reach out. I know that, like I said, there's probably people maybe in school that are listening to this. Feel free to reach out. We're always happy to chat, either just like guidance, or if you do want to get in on some type of internship, we're happy to chat about that as well. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mitch. And I look forward to potentially having you on in the future.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm excited for everything that you're doing, man. I told you last time I saw you, like I remember talking about your content, like just kind of like going back, what should you do and stuff like that. And man, you've really been crushing it lately. So it's been really cool to see.
Thank you so much.